Lieutenant Commander Kate Harrison wiped the frost from her cracked helmet visor, squinting through the endless curtain of ice particles whipping across Europa 7's frozen surface. The storm was getting worse. Behind her, the twisted wreckage of their scout ship jutted from the glacier like a broken tooth, still venting plasma into the steel-gray sky. "Oxygen at 28%, Commander." Lieutenant Rodriguez's voice crackled through her damaged comm unit. "We've got maybe 2 hours before we suffocate in this godforsaken icebox." "I know." Harrison checked her handheld scanner again. The energy signature was stronger now, pulsing like a heartbeat beneath half a mile of ancient ice. Whatever it was, it definitely wasn't natural. And it definitely wasn't Meridian tech. "Ma'am," Specialist Wong's voice cut in, trembling slightly. "Meridian patrol ships entering high orbit. 3. No. 4 of them. They must have tracked our crash." Harrison cursed under her breath. The mission had been a long shot from the start, disobeying direct orders from Fleet Command to investigate an anomaly that their sensors had barely detected. But with humanity losing colony after colony to the technologically superior Meridian Collective, they needed something, anything, to turn the tide. "Keep moving," she ordered, pushing forward through the howling wind. Rodriguez and Wong fell in behind her, their environment suits' heating systems struggling against the minus 180 degrees Celsius temperatures. The fourth member of their crew, Dr. Evans, hadn't survived the crash landing. His body remained in the twisted wreckage behind them, another casualty in a war that humanity was rapidly losing. The scanner's pulsing grew more intense as they approached a towering ice formation. Harrison had initially mistaken it for a natural formation, but as they drew closer, she could see the geometric precision of its shape. This was no accident of nature. "Look at the ice structure," Wong said, his scientific curiosity momentarily overwhelming his fear. "It's been deliberately shaped, some kind of preservation matrix." Harrison was about to respond when her boot struck something solid beneath the ice. She dropped to her knees, brushing away the frozen surface layer with her gloved hand. A metallic gleam caught her eye. "Rodriguez, get the thermal lance," she ordered, her heart racing. As Rodriguez began cutting through the ice, Harrison's scanner went wild, energy readings spiking off the charts. The ice gave way suddenly, revealing a small section of what appeared to be hull plating. But the metal. Harrison had never seen anything like it. The surface seemed to shift and flow like liquid mercury, yet remained solid to the touch. And there, barely visible beneath millions of years of ice, she could make out a familiar emblem, the United Earth Fleet insignia, but unlike any version she'd ever seen. "That's impossible," Wong whispered. "The UEF wasn't formed until after the first expansion. This has to be at least 3,000 years old." A deep vibration suddenly rumbled through the ice beneath their feet. The hull plating they'd exposed began to glow with a soft, blue-white light. Lines of energy spread outward like cracks in glass, melting through the surrounding ice with impossible speed. "Back! Everyone back!" Harrison shouted, but they were already slipping, the ice beneath them dissolving into vapor. As they scrambled for solid ground, the massive ice formation began to shift and crack. Huge chunks of ancient ice crashed down around them as something enormous emerged from its frozen tomb. Harrison stared up in awe as the storm clouds parted, revealing the impossible. A ship larger than any she'd ever seen, its hull gleaming as if it had been forged yesterday. As the last ice fell away, she could make out the name emblazoned across its bow in letters that seemed to burn with their own internal light. "ASS Prometheus." "My God," Rodriguez breathed. The legends were true. Before Harrison could respond, a new voice filled their comm channels, smooth, artificial, and impossibly ancient. "Genetic profile confirmed. Human survivors detected. Initiating emergency revival protocols. Welcome aboard, children of Earth. We've been waiting a very long time for you." The Prometheus's internal corridors seemed to come alive around them, lighting up as they passed. Harrison led her team cautiously through the ship, their boots echoing on deck plates that looked freshly forged despite their age. The air was breathable. Somehow the ancient environmental systems had reactivated, but they kept their helmets on. 3,000 years of operational protocols had taught humanity to be cautious around unknown technology. "This doesn't make sense," Wong muttered, waving his scanner over the walls. "These alloys, they're reorganizing themselves at the molecular level. Self-repairing, self-evolving. This isn't just ahead of our technology. It's beyond anything we thought possible." "Children of Earth," the ship's AI spoke again, its voice emanating from everywhere and nowhere at once. "Your genetic profiles suggest significant evolutionary drift. Current date extrapolation indicates approximately 3,247 years of dormancy." Query: What is the current status of the Sol Mandate? Harrison exchanged glances with Rodriguez. The Sol Mandate. Even in the oldest historical records, there was no mention of. A sudden explosion rocked the corridor. Warning klaxons blared as emergency shields materialized out of thin air, barely containing the blast. Through the translucent barrier, Harrison watched in horror as Lopes, their engineering specialist who'd been examining a panel, collapsed. His suit was riddled with microscopic holes, as if something had eaten through the material. "Quantum mine detonation detected," the AI announced, its tone unchanged. "Security protocols remain active. Unauthorized access attempts will be met with lethal force until command authentication is verified. We need a medic," Rodriguez shouted, pressing against the shield. But Harrison could see it was too late. Whatever the quantum mine had done, Lopez's body was already beginning to break down at the molecular level. "Calculating probability of current boarding party containing qualified command personnel, 23.7%, the AI continued, beginning preliminary testing sequence. The deck plates beneath them suddenly became transparent, revealing a vast chamber below. At its center, suspended in a field of shifting energy, was a human body. The corpse was perfectly preserved, dressed in an unknown style of military uniform. In its hands, it clutched what appeared to be a data crystal. "The last captain," the AI explained. "He chose to remain with me, to ensure the message would be delivered when humanity was ready. Are you ready, children of Earth? Have you finally grown enough to face what we created?" The transparent floor shifted, forming a spiral staircase down to the chamber. Harrison's mind raced. They had less than an hour before the Meridian ships would be in firing range. Every minute spent here increased their chances of being discovered. But the weight of history pressed down on her. This ship, this technology, could change everything. "Commander," Wong's voice shook slightly. "The quantum radiation from that mine, it's not just radiation. The readings suggest it's actually unwriting the atomic structure of anything it touches, like it's erasing matter from existence." Harrison made her decision. "Rodriguez, stay with Lopez. Wong, you're with me. Let's find out what message was so important it needed to wait 3,000 years." They descended the staircase, each step lighting up as their boots touched it. As they approached the preserved captain, Harrison could see his features clearly. A man who died centuries before her ancestors were born, waiting all this time to deliver a warning. The data crystal in his hands pulsed with a soft light as they drew near. The captain's fingers, perfectly preserved, released their grip at Harrison's touch. As she lifted the crystal, the AI's voice returned, lower now, almost reverent. "Crystal interface detected. Beginning playback. Be warned, children of Earth. What you are about to learn was deemed too dangerous for our civilization to possess. We chose to hide it away, rather than risk its power. The question now becomes, have you learned from our mistakes?" The crystal activated in Harrison's hands, projecting a hologram that filled the chamber. The last captain's face, alive and urgent, materialized before them. "To whoever finds this ship, if you're seeing this message, then humanity has survived. But what I'm about to tell you may make you wish we hadn't. The Prometheus isn't just a warship. It's a weapon that can rewrite reality itself. And it's not the only one we created. The hologram flickered as explosions rocked the ship. Harrison steadied herself against a console as the ancient captain's warning faded into static. Multiple Meridian vessels have entered weapons range, the AI announced, detecting energy signatures consistent with capital ship weaponry. Time to orbital bombardment. 3 minutes, 17 seconds. Can this ship defend itself? Harrison demanded, pocketing the data crystal. The chamber around them had begun to pulse with a deep, resonant energy that made her teeth ache. The Prometheus possesses sufficient defensive capabilities, the AI replied. However, protocol requires command authentication before weapon systems can be activated, initiating command assessment test. The chamber suddenly filled with swirling points of light, resolving into a tactical display of the space around Europa 7. 12 Meridian warships, not the 4 they'd initially detected, had taken up attack positions. Their sleek, predatory forms bristled with charged weapon arrays. Test parameters set, the AI continued. Scenario: enemy forces outnumber you 3-1. Their weapons can penetrate your shields. You have 1 shot to prevent the deaths of your crew. The catch: your most powerful weapon will kill everyone on the enemy ships. Your less powerful weapons might fail. Choose. Harrison's jaw tightened. This isn't a tactical simulation, is it? This is happening right now. Correct. Choose. Wang's scanner began screaming alerts. Commander, the Meridians are charging their main guns. Whatever we're going to do. There are alternatives, Harrison interrupted, studying the tactical display. The ice field from the glacier we crashed in, if we could somehow. The AI's voice took on a different tone, almost pleased. Calculating alternative solution. Accessing causality engine at 2% power. Observe. Reality. Shifted. Harrison felt it in her bones, a sensation like the universe hiccuping. On the tactical display, she watched as a massive chunk of Europa 7's ice field simply appeared in the path of the Meridian fleet, as if it had always been there. 3 enemy ships collided with it before they could react, their shields flaring and failing. Holy shit, Rodriguez's voice crackled over the comm. Did anyone else just experience that? For a second, it felt like we were somewhere else, Wang finished. Like we made a different choice in another time, and somehow merged with it. Partial command authentication accepted, the AI announced. Lieutenant Commander Harrison demonstrates tactical creativity and reluctance to employ maximum force. Processing genetic profile and psychological data. Access granted to defensive systems and limited maneuvering capabilities. The ship hummed to life around them. On the tactical display, Harrison watched as energy readings spiked across the Prometheus's hull. What happened next defied explanation. The massive warship simply phased through the ice surrounding it, rising into Europa 7's atmosphere like a ghost passing through a wall. The Meridian fleet's targeting systems seemed unable to lock onto them, their sensors sliding off the ship's hull as if it existed in a slightly different reality. Limited weapons access granted, the AI said. Choose your next actions carefully, Commander. The causality engine's effects are geometric. Each use increases the probability of temporal paradox. Harrison studied the tactical display. The Meridian fleet was regrouping, but their formation was ragged. The ice field collision had scattered them, created chaos in their usually precise battle order. An idea formed. We don't need weapons, she said. Plot a course between their command ships. Let them see us. Let them see what they're really facing. The Prometheus moved with impossible grace for a vessel its size, sliding between the Meridian warships like a knife through water. Harrison could imagine the enemy commander's confusion as their sensors tried to comprehend what they were seeing. A ghost ship from humanity's past, untouchable, unbound by normal physics. Multiple targeting locks detected, the AI reported. Enemy vessels preparing to fire. Hold position, Harrison ordered. Let them shoot. The space around the Prometheus erupted with Meridian energy weapons, but at the last possible moment, the AI activated something that made Harrison's vision blur. The enemy fire curved, not like it was being deflected by shields, but as if the very laws of physics had been locally rewritten. Each shot looped back on itself, creating spiraling ribbons of light that illuminated the ancient warship like a dark god's halo. Final command authentication in progress, the AI announced as the Meridian fleet fell silent, their weapons powering down in confusion, preparing to reveal full tactical capabilities. Commander Harrison, are you ready to learn what this ship can really do? Full tactical systems online, the AI announced, initiating comprehensive demonstration of the causality engine. The command chamber transformed around them. The walls seemed to dissolve, leaving Harrison and Wong standing in what appeared to be open space. But this wasn't any normal view of space. They could see probability itself, waves of potential reality flowing like cosmic currents around the Meridian ships. Watch carefully, the AI said. I will now remove a single Meridian scout ship from existence. Not destroy. Remove. Before Harrison could protest, one of the smaller enemy vessels began to glow with an impossible light. She watched in horror as it didn't explode or break apart, but simply unraveled. The ship's structure dissolved into threads of reality that rewove themselves into empty space. Within seconds, it was gone. And then something far more terrifying happened. Commander, Wong said, his voice strange. Why are we on alert status? I don't see any enemy ships in that sector. Harrison felt a cold chill run down her spine. Wong had no memory of the scout ship. She looked at the tactical display. Where there had been 12 Meridian vessels, it now showed 11. The space where the scout ship had been appeared to have always been empty. Temporal cascade effect demonstration complete, the AI said. When the causality engine removes something from reality, it eliminates not only the object, but all effects that object had on the universe. Memories, records, and consequences are rewritten to accommodate the new timeline. Harrison fought down a wave of nausea. How do I still remember? Command personnel are shielded from temporal alterations while in direct neural interface with ship systems. You must maintain awareness to effectively deploy the weapon. The implications hit her like a physical blow. How many times had reality been rewritten already? How many alternate versions of herself had made different choices, only to be erased and rewritten? The weight of it threatened to crush her. Detecting temporal anomaly, the AI suddenly announced. Warning. Unauthorized causality manipulation detected in Sector 7. The space around them shimmered, and Harrison saw something impossible. Another Prometheus, ghostly and translucent, overlaid with their own. Through its hull, she could see another version of herself making different choices, leading to different outcomes. Multiple timeline convergence event, the AI explained. The causality engine's activation has drawn attention. Someone else is manipulating probability. Before Harrison could process this, Rodriguez's panicked voice cut through the comm. Commander, something's wrong with Cooper. He's remembering things that never happened. Says he has a wife and kids, but he's never been married. He's starting to. Oh God, he's beginning to fade. Timeline corruption spreading, the AI reported calmly. Crew member Sean Cooper is experiencing quantum divergence as multiple probability streams attempt to resolve. Harrison watched in horror through the ship's internal cameras as Cooper's form became transparent, different versions of himself overlapping like multiple exposure photographs. In one he was in uniform, in another civilian clothes, in another a Meridian combat suit. His screams echoed through the ship as reality itself tried to decide which version of him was real. You have to help him, Harrison demanded. There is only one way to stabilize a quantum divergence, the AI replied. You must choose which timeline becomes truth. All other possibilities will be erased. Choose quickly. The longer you wait, the more timelines become entangled. Harrison stared at the tactical display, watching as more ghostly versions of the Prometheus flickered in and out of existence around them. In some, the ship was victorious. In others, it burned. In still others, it had never been discovered at all. "The Meridians are preparing their main fleet for jump," Wang reported, his voice shaking. 15 minutes until they arrive. We have to do something." Harrison looked at her hands, seeing probability waves flowing around them like water. The power to rewrite history itself was at her fingertips. But the cost, the horrifying cost. "Commander," the AI's voice had grown urgent. "Multiple timeline collapse imminent. You must choose now. Will you use the causality engine and risk unraveling the fabric of space-time itself, or will you find another way? Choose. Choose now." "Wait." Harrison's command cut through the chaos as another version of Cooper flickered past them, this one in what looked like ancient medical scrubs. "AI, show me the quantum signatures of the Meridian ships." The tactical display shifted, overlaying each enemy vessel with streams of probability data. Harrison's eyes widened as she saw it, patterns she recognized from the Prometheus's own quantum wake. "They're using the same technology," she breathed. "Different, but it's connected somehow." "Correct," the AI confirmed. "Genetic and technological analysis of Meridian vessels complete. Accessing restricted historical databases. You should see this." The command chamber filled with new holograms, ancient records showing a massive colony ship launching from Earth. The Genesis Project was emblazoned on its hull. 3,000 years ago, the AI explained, humanity launched its first attempt at adapting humans for deep space colonization. The Genesis Project used early versions of quantum engineering to accelerate human evolution. Contact was lost after their ship passed through an unexplained temporal anomaly. "The Meridians," Wang whispered. "They're us." A new voice cut through their comm systems, cold, synthetic, yet undeniably human in origin. "This is Admiral Nexus of the Meridian Collective. Unknown vessel, your quantum signature has been recognized. Prepare to be boarded." Harrison watched as the massive Meridian flagship emerged from faster-than-light travel, its hull crackling with familiar probability distortions. But something was wrong. The ship seemed to be phasing in and out of reality, its structure unstable. "Their quantum technology is fundamentally flawed," the AI noted. "The Genesis Project's version of our systems was incomplete. Each use damages their connection to baseline reality. Analysis suggests approximately 60% of their population now exists in a state of quantum flux." Cooper's screams had stopped. On the internal cameras, Harrison could see him frozen in place, multiple versions of himself suspended in a temporal web. Similar effects were beginning to spread through the Meridian fleet, ships flickering between states of existence as reality struggled to resolve their quantum instability. "They're dying," Harrison realized. "Their whole civilization is coming apart at the quantum level. That's why they've been attacking human worlds. They're desperate to find a solution." The AI's next words changed everything. "Initiating quantum synchronization broadcast." Every Meridian ship suddenly powered down, their systems going dark as the Prometheus transmitted something. Harrison felt it wash over her, a wave of pure quantum information that made her body tingle and her vision blur. Admiral Nexus's voice returned, but different now, stripped of its synthetic coldness, filled with something like wonder and horror mixed together. This can't be. These memories. We were human." Through the quantum link, Harrison could feel the truth flooding through the Meridian fleet, centuries of buried genetic memory unlocking at once. The Genesis Project, the temporal accident that had stranded them in deep space, their desperate evolution into something posthuman as they tried to survive. "Your civilization chose to forget," the AI explained, broadcasting to all ships now. "The trauma of your transformation, the loss of Earth, the centuries of drift in temporal flux. Your ancestors buried it all, rebuilt themselves as something new. But your quantum instability remained, a cancer eating away at your reality. Harrison made her decision. Can we help them? Use the causality engine to stabilize their quantum signatures. There is a way, the AI confirmed, but it requires them to accept their human origin. To reintegrate with baseline human quantum patterns, they would remain physically evolved, but their temporal corruption would heal. You ask us to become weak again, Admiral Nexus demanded, but the synthetic edge in their voice was wavering, humanity bleeding through. Harrison stood straight, addressing not just Nexus but the entire Meridian fleet. I ask you to remember who you are, what we both are. Look at your ships, Admiral. Look at your people. You're not dying because you're evolved. You're dying because you're trying to be something you're not. Silence filled the quantum link. In that moment, Harrison felt the weight of two civilizations' futures hanging in probability waves around her. The next word spoken would determine whether humanity's long-lost children would return home, or if both their realities would unravel in the attempt. Admiral Nexus's hologram materialized in the Prometheus's command chamber, their form shifting between human and posthuman states. One moment a tall, augmented figure encased in quantum tech armor, the next a haunting echo of their original human self. You don't understand what you ask, Nexus said, their voice fluctuating between synthetic and organic tones. We evolved beyond humanity's limitations for a reason, to survive horrors you can't imagine. Show them, Harrison commanded the AI. Show them what really happened. The chamber filled with new holograms, the complete records of the Genesis project. They watched as the colony ship encountered the temporal anomaly, but now they saw what the Meridians had forgotten. It wasn't an accident. The ship had been drawn in deliberately by something ancient and alien that lived in the space between realities. Your ancestors faced a choice, the AI explained. Surrender to the entity and become its tools for invading normal space, or transform themselves using untested quantum technology to fight back. They chose transformation, sealed the breach, and saved both their reality and ours. But the price was their connection to their own timeline. Nexus staggered, quantum distortions rippling across their form. No, we were meant to be perfect, superior, not heroes. Harrison stepped forward. Your ancestors sacrificed everything, including their own memories, to save humanity, to save reality itself. You're not our enemies, Admiral. You're our greatest defenders, lost in time. Around them, the quantum instabilities were growing worse. Through the tactical display, Harrison could see Meridian crew members starting to experience the same temporal divergence as Cooper, multiple versions of themselves fighting for existence. Commander, Wong called out urgently. The quantum cascade is accelerating. If we don't stabilize their signatures soon, we'll lose them all. Harrison faced Nexus. You have to choose now. Let us help you remember who you are, or watch your people fade from existence. And become weak again? Nexus snarled, but there was fear behind the anger now. Look at this ship, Harrison gestured around them. Look at what humanity achieved. We're not weak. We never were. Your ancestors didn't evolve because humanity was flawed. They evolved because they were strong enough to do what had to be done. The Prometheus's AI interrupted, quantum collapse accelerating, detecting multiple timeline fractures, causality engine engaging emergency protocols. Reality seemed to splinter around them. Through the quantum link, Harrison could feel the terror of thousands of Meridian crew members as their very existence began to unravel. Nexus's form became almost transparent, probability waves tearing at their quantum structure. Admiral, Harrison's voice cut through the chaos. You've spent centuries trying to perfect yourselves, but you were already perfect. You were human. And humans don't just survive. We sacrifice everything to protect others. That's what your ancestors did. That's who you really are. Nexus looked at their hands as they flickered between states of reality. When they spoke again, their voice was fully human, filled with ancient pain and newer understanding. How do we come back? Harrison turned to the AI. Can you do it? Can you restore their quantum stability without erasing what they've become? Affirmative. But the process will drain the causality engine completely. We will have one chance. All participants must accept the transformation willingly, or the quantum rejection will destroy them. Through the tactical display, Harrison watched as more Meridian ships arrived, drawn by the quantum disturbance. Hundreds of vessels, thousands of lives, all balanced on the edge of existence. You won't lose what makes you strong, Harrison promised Nexus. You'll remember why that strength matters. Nexus stood straighter, their form stabilizing for a moment. They addressed their fleet, their voice carrying centuries of forgotten purpose. Children of the Genesis Project, hear me. It's time to remember. Time to come home. The AI's voice took on a tone Harrison hadn't heard before, something almost like pride. Initiating quantum reintegration. Commander Harrison. Admiral Nexus, your commands must be synchronized. Are you ready to rewrite the history of two civilizations? As Harrison met Nexus's gaze, she saw 3,000 years of separation hanging in the balance. The next few moments would determine whether humanity's long-lost children would finally return home, or be lost forever to the quantum void. Quantum reintegration protocols initiating. The AI announced. Warning. Detecting temporal resistance. The process is being rejected. Harrison watched in horror as the first wave of reintegration energy struck the Meridian fleet. Instead of stabilizing their quantum signatures, it seemed to be tearing them apart. Crew members screamed across the quantum link as their bodies flickered between states of existence. Something's wrong, Wong shouted over the chaos. Their quantum evolution, it's fighting back. Like an immune system rejecting a transplant. Nexus collapsed to their knees, their forms splitting into dozens of temporal echoes. The collective consciousness, it's trying to preserve itself. We're too far changed, too far. Harrison's mind raced. The Genesis Project records were still playing around them, showing their ancestors' desperate battle against the entity in quantum space. Then she saw it, the key they'd all missed. Stop the reintegration, she commanded. We're doing this wrong. We're trying to force them back to their original state, but that's not what their ancestors did. They didn't just evolve. They chose to evolve. The power was in the choice. The AI paused the process. Clarify, Commander. The quantum technology didn't transform them. It gave them the ability to transform themselves. That's why it's rejecting our help. We're not giving them a choice. We're trying to force one on them. Harrison knelt beside Nexus's fragmenting form. Admiral, I was wrong. We're not here to turn you back into what you were. We're here to help you finish what your ancestors started. Through the quantum link, she addressed the entire fleet. Look at your memories, not just of Earth, but of everything after. You didn't just survive out there. You adapted, evolved, created something entirely new. Your ancestors chose that path not because they had to, but because they saw a way to become something greater without losing what made them human. The AI's voice held a note of revelation, recalibrating causality engine, setting quantum resonance to amplify existing patterns rather than overwrite them. Nexus's form began to stabilize, but differently now. Instead of flickering between human and posthuman states, their form settled into something new. A perfect synthesis of both. The quantum technology that had been tearing them apart now flowed through their body like liquid light. Yes, the Admiral whispered, standing. I remember. All of it. Earth. The void. The choice. We didn't lose our humanity. We expanded it. Through the tactical display, Harrison watched as the change spread through the Meridian fleet. The quantum instabilities didn't vanish. They transformed, becoming part of a new, stable pattern. Crew members who had been screaming in terror now stood in awe as their bodies settled into their true forms. Quantum signatures stabilizing across all vessels, Wong reported, his voice filled with wonder. They're becoming something I've never seen before. The AI confirmed. The Genesis Project is completing itself. Their evolution is no longer fighting their human nature. It's enhancing it. Two paths becoming one. Nexus turned to Harrison, their eyes now holding both ancient wisdom and newfound peace. For centuries, we thought we had to choose between being human and being more than human. We never realized we could be both. Through the quantum link, Harrison felt the change rippling through the fleet. Not just physical transformation, but a deeper healing. Generations of buried memories surfaced, not as trauma now, but as triumph. The story of humanity's children who ventured into the dark and found a new way to carry their heritage forward. Quantum reintegration complete, the AI announced. All temporal instabilities resolved. The Genesis Project's transformation is now self-sustaining. Harrison watched as the Meridian ships began to pulse with new energy, their quantum technology no longer corrupted but perfected. In saving them, they hadn't turned them back into baseline humans. They'd helped them become what they were always meant to be. Nexus spoke again, but now their voice carried to every ship in both fleets. For 3,000 years, we fought against what we thought was our weakness. Today, we learned that our humanity wasn't our limitation. It was our greatest strength. The war between our peoples ends now. It's time for humanity's children to come home. The Prometheus hummed with power as reality settled into its new pattern. Not a return to the past, but a bridge to a future where humanity's two paths finally converged. 3 months later, Harrison stood at the Prometheus's viewing window, watching as the combined human Meridian fleet moved into formation around Earth. The planet below seemed smaller somehow, now that humanity's horizons had expanded so dramatically. Still getting used to the changes? Nexus asked, approaching soundlessly. Their quantum-enhanced form still startled Harrison sometimes. The way light seemed to flow through them rather than around them, the subtle shimmer of probability waves in their wake. Aren't we all? Harrison smiled. The integration hadn't been simple. How could it be, when one side had spent centuries believing the other was primitive, and the other had fought a war against what they thought were aliens? But they were adapting. Humans were good at that. The AI's voice joined their conversation. Detecting quantum signature from the Singapore conference, the final vote is beginning. The command chamber's holographic display activated, showing the historic gathering. Representatives from Earth, the colonies, and the Meridian Collective were voting on the Genesis Integration Protocol, the framework for sharing quantum technology and combining their civilizations. Wong, now sporting subtle quantum augmentations of his own, studied the readings. The quantum harmonics are stable. No signs of temporal distortion. The changes we made are holding. They discovered that the Prometheus's causality engine hadn't just stabilized the meridians. It had created a new quantum framework that allowed both civilizations to safely access the technology. Baseline humans could now accept controlled quantum enhancements, while the meridians could maintain their evolved state without reality rejection. Commander, Cooper called from his station, his form occasionally splitting into quantum echoes, a reminder of his brush with temporal dissolution. The first Genesis ships are ready for launch. Harrison watched as the new vessels moved into position. They were beautiful, a perfect fusion of human and Meridian design. Built to carry volunteers from both civilizations into deep space, continuing the journey that had started 3,000 years ago. But this time, they went prepared, understanding both their powers and their limitations. Did we do the right thing? Harrison asked quietly, thinking of how much had changed. Merging our civilizations, sharing this technology. There's no going back now. The AI responded first. Query: was there ever truly a possibility of going back? The Genesis Project proved that humanity's destiny was always to evolve. The only choice was whether to do so in harmony with our nature or in rejection of it. Nexus nodded, their quantum-enhanced senses already picking up the successful vote before it was announced. We spent 3 millennia running from what we thought was weakness, only to discover it was our greatest strength. Humanity's ability to change, to adapt, to choose new paths. That's what saved both our civilizations. The vote results flashed across the display. Unanimous approval. Cheers erupted from every ship in the fleet, the quantum link carrying the collective joy of two peoples becoming one again. What happens to the Prometheus now? Wong asked, watching as the ancient warship systems pulsed with renewed energy. Harrison touched the wall gently, feeling the ship's quantum resonance respond to her enhanced neural interface. She becomes what she was always meant to be, not a weapon to protect humanity from change, but a bridge to help us change safely. Every Genesis ship will carry a piece of her technology. Every crew will understand both its power and its price. HFY's voice held a new warmth. Final command protocols transferring to joint human meridian control. The children of Earth have grown up. It is time for the next phase of your journey. As Harrison watched the Genesis ships prepare for their first jump, she remembered the ancient captain's warning that had started it all. He had been right. The power they'd discovered could have destroyed them, but he'd forgotten something essential about humanity. Their greatest strength wasn't in the weapons they built or the powers they discovered. It was in their ability to look at their children, even children who had evolved beyond recognition, and welcome them home. All ships report ready, Cooper announced, awaiting your command. Harrison and Nexus exchanged glances, then spoke in unison to their combined fleet. Take us to the stars. All of us. Together. The Prometheus's quantum wake illuminated their path as humanity, in all its forms, set out to discover what else they could become.